Before we get on with the podcast, I'd like to mention that I now have 3 books for sale on Kindle. Recommended Reading for the True Conservative, Bad Democrat, and now Evil Liberal. All available for $3.99 or through Kindle Unlimited. Now, on with the podcast.
You can tell what kind of neighborhood you're in just by who's not working. If you're in any neighborhood in America at 12:15 in the afternoon on a Wednesday and you see women with sweatpants on, coming out the gym, pushing babies, riding bikes, chances are you're in a nice neighborhood. That's right. Wherever women ain't working is an amazing place to live. That is where I want to live. Now, let's switch it up. If you're in any neighborhood in America at 12:15 in the afternoon on a Wednesday and you see men in sweatpants, smoking cigarettes, hanging with their boys, lifting weights in the yard, riding children's bicycles as their actual transportation, then you are in danger. You can tell what...
Good morning. It's Tuesday, Trump Tuesday, August the 4th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, Evil Liberal, and President Trump. All that and more when I get back. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. Now, Varney and Company.
Tomorrow, everybody, Varney and Company picks it up. Stu, take it away.
Good morning, Maria. Morning, everyone. It is another rally. Monday, stock straight up. Tuesday, stock straight up. Treasury Secretary Bessent made a statement this morning that lit the fire. He said he expects a deal to open the Strait of Hormuz very soon. The price of oil immediately dropped from over $80 a barrel all the way down to 77. It hit 76 at one stage. All right, Wall Street likes this. Look at the Dow on the upside to the tune of 600 points. This is pre-market, of course. We have no idea where it closes. But it's up this morning, and the Nasdaq is up 300 points. Then we have Palantir. It reported a 93% jump in revenues. Its stunning growth continues, and the stock is up $20 this morning. That is 16%. Interest rates, I'll call it moderating. Bessent also said he sees inflation as tame. The 10-year Treasury yields 4.66. The 2-year coming in, I believe it's right now, is at 4.22. There it is. Bitcoin, $63,000 range, 63.7 to be precise. Politics. Big day today. The socialists have mounted a challenge to moderate Democrats. They have momentum and are taking a much larger role within the Democrat Party. The key race is the Michigan Senate primary. Far left and anti-Israel Abdul El-Sayed goes up against the moderate Haley Stevens. In most polls, El-Sayed is in the lead. In Missouri, former squad member and DSA supporter Cori Bush challenging incumbent Democrat Wesley Bell. In Michigan, in the House primary, Donovan McKinney faces incumbent Democrat Sri Thanagar. On the show today, we'll check out the stampede to the left that's happening now in the Democrat Party. Kamala Harris has turned left. She wants to reform the Electoral College and pack the Supreme Court. In California, the Democrat Party, moving left, now backs the ballot initiative to seize billionaires' money. The president demands lower gas prices. He says the oil companies are making too much money, his words. He says they should give back some of their profit to the public. And then there's Zach Brown. He makes a lot of people happy. He performed at Fenway Park in Boston. At the end of the concert, he announced he would give a cruise to everyone in the audience. It was a packed house. 37,000 fans. They each get a cruise. Tuesday, August 4th, 2026, Varney and Company is about to begin.
And that was Varney and Company, non-profit news now. Back in a minute. Thank you. This confusion is by design. It destabilizes the conservative sense of reality and keeps the liberal in the superior position. Through seduction, they create desire. Through withdrawal, they maintain control. The oscillation between the two ensures that the conservative is never secure, never settled, always reaching for something just out of reach. Shame and confusion are two of the most powerful tools in the liberals' arsenal of manipulation, particularly in the context of intimacy. Unlike overt abuse, these tactics often go unnoticed, operating in subtle, insidious ways that leave the conservative questioning their own perception and worth. The liberal uses shame to diminish, to destabilize, and to assert dominance, while confusion serves to keep the conservative disoriented and compliant. These are not accidental byproducts. They are deliberate strategies designed to fracture the conservative self-image and make them easier to control. Shame is often instilled through backhanded compliments, critical remarks disguised as jokes, or sudden coldness following moments of vulnerability. For example, a liberal might subtly criticize the conservative, never overtly, not enough to provoke open confrontation, but just enough to make the conservative feel inadequate or exposed. Over time, the conservative internalizes these judgments, believing they are not good enough. The narcissist exploits this vulnerability, reinforcing the idea that the conservative must work harder, change more, or suppress parts of themselves to be worthy of respect. Confusion is layered on top of this shame through gaslighting, inconsistency, and contradiction. The liberal may say one thing and do another, deny obvious truths, or rewrite history to fit their narrative. The conservative begins to doubt their memory, their instincts, and even their values. They lose confidence in their own judgment and increasingly refer to the liberals' version of reality. This confusion erodes autonomy and makes it nearly impossible to draw clear boundaries or make empowered choices. The conservative often finds themselves in a state of paralysis, ashamed of who they are and confused about what is happening. This psychological fog keeps them tied to the liberal, believing that the problem lies within themselves, that if they can just be better, things will be all right. But that was a manipulation and a trap designed to set the stage for long-term emotional control through the persistent use of shame and confusion. The liberal is a master of mirroring, particularly early on. This skill allows them to create an uncanny sense of resonance and connection, as if they intuitively understand the conservative's desires, fears, and needs. But this mirroring is not a reflection of genuine empathy or emotional depth. It's a calculated tactic used to create attachment and dependency. The liberal observes, studies, and reflects back what the conservative wants to see, crafting an illusion of compatibility and cooperation. They become exactly what the conservative expects. This is not connection, it is manipulation, and its purpose is control. Once the liberal has embedded themselves in the conservative psyche, they begin to weaponize what was once offered freely. Cooperation becomes conditional. The liberal leverages the knowledge they've gained through mirroring to exploit the conservative's insecurities and emotional triggers. They may use the conservatives' vulnerabilities as ammunition during conflicts or to subtly erode their confidence. The liberal is not just using generic strategies, they are using the conservatives' own desires and emotional blueprint against them. They would hold back precisely what the conservative values most. They mock or ignore the very qualities they once praised, and they do so while maintaining enough ambiguity and intermittent reinforcement to keep the conservative hooked. This weaponization of cooperation is one of the most emotionally violent aspects of liberal abuse. It strikes at the core of identity, at the human need to be seen. The conservative feels needed and discarded, often within the same breath. They are left wondering if the problem lies with them, when in reality, the liberal was never seeking cooperation, they were seeking leverage. The healing process requires a deliberate act of reclaiming responsibility, not for the liberal's behavior, but for one's own sense of self-boundaries. It's a shift from asking, why did they do this to me, to asking, what do I need to see clearly now, and how do I protect myself going forward? Boundaries are essential in this process. The liberal thrives in environments where boundaries are porous or inconsistent. They exploit guilt, obligation, and confusion to maintain access and influence. Recovery demands the building of strong internal lines, clear limits on what's acceptable, what is tolerable, and what will never again be allowed. These boundaries must be rooted not in fear, but in self-respect. That means learning to say no without explanation, to walk away without seeking closure, and to trust one's own perception, even in the face of pressure or doubt. This isn't about blame. It's about empowerment. It's about recognizing how one's own patterns, beliefs, or wounds may have made them susceptible to liberal manipulation and choosing to grow beyond those vulnerabilities. This stage of recovery is often marked by grief because it involves mourning, not just the relationship, but the illusions that kept it alive. This includes cultivating self-trust, practicing emotional honesty, and engaging in relationships where mutual respect and empathy are present. It is a process of unlearning the idea that respect must be earned through suffering or that attention must be chased and negotiated. True healing comes not from defeating the narcissist, but from stepping entirely out of the game they play and refusing to participate in the emotional economy they depend on. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Dr. Berg.
The number one mineral deficiency in high blood pressure. Do you realize that over 120 million Americans have high blood pressure? And that's nearly half of all adults in the U.S. And the treatment is usually always the same. It's like cut your salt, take a pill. Well, there's a problem with that because 90% of hypertension is called essential. What does that mean, essential? It means unknown cause. And it's just bizarre because over 50 years, billions of dollars, and they still don't know the cause of hypertension, really? Today we're going to talk about what really is causing this. It's super important to know this, especially if you're trying to get rid of your hypertension by reducing salt, because that could be the opposite thing you want to be doing. It's a great business model because you can keep people on blood pressure medication. And then in Wikipedia, you can just write in there, well, we still don't know the cause. We need to do more research. Someday maybe we'll find out. There's no motivation to do research on this, okay? It's not going to happen. Why would any company, especially the drug companies, ever invest even a dime into trying to find the root cause of hypertension? It's a business model. They're not going to do it. In fact, if you actually come up with a cure, you're going to be attacked. So today I'm not going to mention cure, but I'm going to give you some data that might help resolve your high blood pressure. So you go to the doctor and they're going to recommend you reduce sodium. Now, that's not untrue, but there's more to that story. Harvard researchers tracked over 10,000 adults across 6 major studies. They measured both sodium and potassium against cardiovascular outcomes. And here's what they found, and this is actually very interesting. For every 1,000 milligrams of potassium that was given to a person every single day, there was a reduction by 18% in the cardiovascular risk. And for every addition of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, there was an increase of 18% cardiovascular risk. Completely symmetrical, equal, but opposite. But here's the part that almost never makes it to the doctor's office. The people with the highest sodium and the lowest potassium ratio doubled the heart attack death risk compared to people with the lowest ratio. The problem is the ratio. Okay, the relative ratio between sodium and potassium. You have to look at them together, not separately. In the U.S., an average person consumes 3,400 milligrams, not potassium, sodium. Okay, sodium. And only 2,500 milligrams of potassium. You need at least 4,700 milligrams of potassium. Rarely does anyone even come close to that. And you roughly need about 2,400 milligrams of sodium. But you can actually tolerate more if you have more potassium. But that's in another video. So a lot of people ask me, what supplements do I recommend? Now, of course, I'm not biased of my own high-quality supplement line. But if you go to Amazon and type Dr. Berg supplements, you'll find more information. And if you look in the past, the Paleolithic ancestors consumed an estimated 11,000 to 15,000 milligrams of potassium every single day. Okay, they had a lot more than 4,700. Our bodies were developed for much higher amounts of potassium. It was actually very rare to find enough sodium. And this probably is why we have this epidemic of hypertension. Because even like when I was in practice, if someone came in with hypertension, I would always encourage them to increase their potassium, and man, their blood pressure would start coming down. How does it work? Well, there's 4 mechanisms with potassium. Number 1, potassium relaxes blood vessels, okay? So if you look at blood pressure, there's certain control mechanisms. Potassium is the one that causes vasodilation, relaxation. Potassium acts on the smooth muscle of the artery wall. When the potassium is lower, we retain this constriction in the arteries, and even the artery walls become stiffened. So potassium actually keeps the elasticity in the arteries. And of course, when you have this lack of elasticity and more contraction, you get high blood pressure. All right, number 2, potassium lowers adrenaline. A person can go into fight or flight mode without potassium. So potassium is a super important mineral in supporting rest and digest. I mean, they have beta blockers. Those are blood pressure drugs that reduce or block adrenaline. Well, potassium is a natural beta blocker. Potassium can support the sympathetic nervous system that helps it calm down. Potassium protects the inside of the artery. That's called the endothelial layer. It increases something called nitric oxide, which improves vasodilation and circulation. And number 4, potassium supports insulin sensitivity. Potassium directly keeps the insulin receptors sensitive and protects them from downgrading and becoming resistant to insulin. So potassium is really good for a diabetic and also for all the side effects of a diabetic. If you have low potassium, you have a greater chance of developing insulin resistance and insulin problems, which directly correlate to high blood pressure. In fact, insulin resistance is one of the primary drivers of hypertension. And I talked about this in other videos. Potassium supports the cells that make insulin. They help regulate insulin in the pancreas. And so potassium is necessary for insulin to work correctly, but also insulin is necessary for potassium to work as well. And when you have insulin resistance, we actually have a dysfunctional problem with insulin that actually inhibits potassium from working. Now, one of the most common hypertension classes of drugs is the diuretics. And one primary side effect of those medications that help you with hypertension is a loss of potassium. Why? Because they cause the body to get rid of excess fluid. And with that excess fluid going out, you lose potassium and other electrolytes. So here we have a drug that lowers blood pressure that also gets rid of the thing that you need to correct blood pressure. And this is why they also give you a prescription, additional drugs called potassium chloride, which can be called a drug, but it also is a natural thing. You could actually buy it over the counter. So this is an additional thing that has a code that you can get reimbursement for because they have to give it to you because you're creating a deficiency of potassium, and that can create other problems. My question is, what would happen if you took enough potassium initially? Would you lower blood pressure? And then you wouldn't need the diuretic or the potassium prescription. Now, just as a side note, they also have another hypertension drug called ACE inhibitors, which retain potassium. ACE inhibitors are one of the most effective drugs at handling hypertension. I wonder if it's really the retention of potassium. If you go buy a potassium supplement, okay, it'll come in 99 milligram tablets, okay? Why is that when the RDAs for potassium are 4,700? Well, it came from a few studies back in the 60s and 70s that had to do with taking too much potassium, creating ulcers in the intestine. And so it was called a GI lesion, okay, using potassium chloride. So it's not a law that you can't take more, but it's just something that manufacturing companies have stuck with over the years. So my question is, why would you ever get an ulcer or a lesion from potassium? Because potassium doesn't cause lesions. Now, this pill that they gave people was potassium chloride, and it was enteric. In other words, it kind of was encapsulated to go through the stomach and end up in the intestines. And then there's certain theories that, the concentrated amount of potassium in the small intestine could actually create an irritation. But when you look at the studies, they didn't just give people potassium chloride. What they did in the study was attach the potassium chloride to the diuretic medication. And there's other studies that show that when you take this diuretic, that has been known to create lesions in the GI system. So how is anyone going to determine it's the potassium and not the medication? Also, these studies were done on people with cardiac problems that were also taking aspirin and NSAID drugs at the same time, which have been known to cause ulcers in the GI system. My viewpoint is potassium got the blame, but it was never the root cause because there's never been any independent study where someone just took potassium. And we're talking like 99 milligrams, which is basically a fraction of what we need. So this is why when you go to the store, you'll see the 99 milligram pills for potassium. It's all based on those studies back in the 60s. Never been tested after that to really determine if this was a true thing or not. This is a $28 billion industry, right? So I think there's not a lot of motivation to encourage people to take more potassium. Because I talk about this in other videos, the relationship between magnesium and hypertension. And I want to explain that right now because magnesium is not just for your muscles. It's not just for reducing cortisol. Magnesium is to help you make energy in the mitochondria. So with blood pressure problems, I really believe you not only need potassium, you need magnesium as well.
And that was Dr. Berg. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little meditation. And that was a little bit of meditation. 417 hertz. Back in a minute. And now from the account Tony.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. I take full responsibility. I am partly responsible for what's happening in America, for what's happening in Dearborn, Michigan, for what's happening in New York City. We left Iran. We left Islamic Republic for exactly this reason. Because radical terrorist Muslims took over the country and are literally killing, raping, torturing, and executing innocent people right now as we speak for the past 47 years. And I thought by voting Democrat, liberals, every single year, every single time there was an election, that meant we are going to make America, keep America great. We're going to definitely not negotiate with terrorism. That's exactly what the left media made me believe. And I'm here to say I apologize. I was brainwashed this whole time. It took me over 20 years to realize that Democrats and liberals are the reason this country is the way it is. They're the ones that are okay with the American flag being burned in New York City, that the American flag is okay to be burned. It's part of democracy. It's the most anti-American thing to do. And wishing death upon America is the most anti-American thing you can do. It has nothing to do with democracy. And I'm here to announce, apologize and let my husband know that he was right. He was rara. Gotta let my husband know that he was rara. I don't know why it's so hard to say this. I am here to announce that my husband was rara. It's very painful. I'm here to announce that my husband was right. Oh, that took everything I had. That he was right about everything. That Republicans are the ones that are gonna help make America great again. I also believed that make America great again meant make America white again. That's because the left media wanted me to believe that. I am here to announce I'm sorry, and I will be part of the group that will make America great again.
And that was Kudak Merbon on the account Tony on X. Back in a minute. Thank you now again from the account Tony.
I believe you voted for Donald Trump. Why would you vote for Donald Trump? Maybe because the left is trying to destroy America and they literally tried to murder our president. Maybe because Kamala Harris's platform was the stupidest thing I've ever seen and I don't want all of our tax money going to that. Maybe because the amount of fraud in this country disgusts me and I work my butt off just to give 20% of it at least to the government. Maybe because I get called a terrorist for being a Christian in a free Christian nation, mind you. Maybe because the other side can't even say the Pledge of Allegiance. Maybe because me, as somebody in the working class, is paying for people who are not working. I'm tired of this woke garbage. Everybody keeps asking me what that means, and the basic definition of it is being politically correct. Meaning, you don't have a foundation to stand on. Meaning, your definition of what's right and wrong keeps changing. But one day, it's no kings. The next day, it's LGBT. And the day after that, the kids are in the strip club and we're calling it story hour. I voted for Donald Trump because I'm an American. I'm proud to be American, and we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And that was Heather Anover Street on the account Tony times 2. Back in a minute. Thank you. More from Tony times 2.
Do you really know who deserves reparations? The unvaccinated. Y'all have a blessed morning.
And there you go, from Tony times 2. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Debo7870 on Tony times 2.
Hey, to that nigga in Idaho who had that cowboy hat on with that motherfucking pistol with that suppressor on it, man, I salute you, bro. I salute you to the fullest. You did your thing. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear cowboy hats. I salute you, bro. We need to be talking about him more than this motherfucking weak-ass dude who did this shit. I salute you, bro.
And that was Debo7870 on Tony times 2. Back in a minute.
What?
will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we the people choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
People dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that you're not neutral and that the government has no rights.